Warning: this podcast may contain spoilers as well as coarse language. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to another Steins Gate Zero Biweekly. We are here to talk about episodes... What are we talking about? Episodes 19 and 20. Steins
almost
Gate Zero
finished.
We're almost done! Yay!
Yeah.
White Fox took a week off, and so did we. But we are back. I'm joined with Mozilla Fennekin, who is never leaving.
Daru, motherfuckers.
And we are joined by our honored guest, Ty the Boss. How are you doing?
Well, it's 2 a.m. I'm tired as fuck. Pretty much usually.
Yo, you're doing the Cav schedule. Nice.
Oh, yes. Now, Kevin is even worse because he's like 2 time zones even more. So, now it's 2 a.m. It's 4 a.m. at the moment for him. So, yeah.
That's
poor
a nice
guy.
It's nice to keep into perspective just how much we're screwing Cav over by how we're screwing you over, but then Cav 2 times more. But
Yeah.
gotta love.
Then again,
times.
he does this all under his own will, so it's own fault.
Yeah.
He could
Yeah.
just say no and keep playing Monster Hunter World the entire time, but yeah. We're drifting way off topic. This is not what this podcast is about.
Well, speaking of time zones, let's talk about the time travel anime Steins Gate Zero. That was my transition.
I
amazing
like
transition.
that anime.
I like this show. Yeah, so...
I
go for
do
it.
not hate it. Yeah.
Ooh,
I haven't listened to every podcast episode about this because of the time, but according to the last few ones that I did listen to, it's apparently okay to hate this show. So I feel very much protected in saying my honest opinions.
Yeah, be
Which
yourself.
is not something that I have with other shows or with other manga. I got recently on -13 on our manga because I dared insult a manga they really loved, but not here. I can talk free here.
We are all free here on this blessed day. So
This is a free podcast, man.
This is a free podcast. No holding back. Except, it
Okay.
sounds like the only thing we're not allowed to say, based on our past podcast, was that Violet Evergarden had bad animation. Like, that was the line.
I mean, that's also objectively wrong, so we would be lying, and
So
that's
we're
not what we want.
already fine. But I'm in like I probably have maybe similar opinions to you, but let's hear them. What do you think so far?
Now, well, this show seemed to be more focused on the whole intrigue, the whole backstabbing, background organization stuff than the actual time travel, seeing as we had episode 8, I think, with the whole rewritten timeline. And then now is like the first time that we've had Okabe actually use the machine again. Now, when I was
the
watching
time loop
19,
machine?
yes. So I kept like building up expectations on certain things, and at the end it decided, nope, we're just doing the original series again. Now,
Yeah,
luckily
I kind
that
of
was
thought that too. I thought that too when we got to 19 and it started looking like he'd be stuck in like a time loop. Yeah, it looked like they were doing that again.
Yeah, and I'm glad that with 20 they are not doing it again. So
Yeah, that was a huge
bullet
relief.
dodged.
Yeah.
Bullet dodged. But yeah, 19 was kind of a thing in that this whole thing with the American organization is currently still very much on my mind, because like I thought that Judy and Lenskinen were like accomplices, like working for the same organization, and that there's like one organization that's American that does pull all the strings. And now apparently this one organization, Darber, is competing with the other, Stratfor or what, and like Lenskinen and Odward killed Judy in like 19, and I'm like, holy hell, this does this answer question? Does this open question? I don't know. I want more information. And then 20 came out and was like, nope. Then again, seeing the future is cool.
Yeah, it was a very weird, like, past 2 episodes, especially trying to compare the two, because I definitely felt similar sentiments from 19, where I think this is kind of where the consequences of combining different routes from the visual novel start showing, because there were so many different ways that the rooftop scene played out, and it kind of felt like they were trying to combine them or show that, like, in different timelines it could have happened different ways. But we end up just kind of getting, at least in my opinion, like, kind of a mess, where we have, like, Suzuha's, like, legitimately shooting Okabe in the leg, and then we have, you know, all the different red herrings coming head to head with that one sexy doctor, and then Kaguri, Kaguri's probably the worst Steins Gate character in the series, and, like, the franchise.
I when she first appeared, like, in episodes, I don't know, 4 or 5 or so, now it was the Steins Gate Zero. I originally experienced, like, the first 2 episodes as the epigraph manga back in 2014, and it helped solidify my opinion that Steins Gate was bad as a franchise. Like, with the movie that I thought was god-awful, and with the cancelled light novel sequel, and with this epigraph manga being the first 2 episodes of Zero, which are boring if you have them standalone. I thought, there's nothing new coming out of this franchise. The original series was good enough, but everything after that, not worth it. And now Zero came out, and
I think Maz kind of put it well when he said that, like, this entire season is really just fan service. Like,
yeah. And actually, when Zero was announced, I think I talked with you because you had already read the visual novel at that point. And I was wondering, so Zero, what is this about? And you were like, it's the Better World line. I'm like, does it have AI Kurisu? And you were like, yes. And does it have some scientist called Maho who, like, created AI Kurisu? And you were like, yes. And I'm like,
yep.
Then why does anyone have hype for that? Now, then again, I allowed myself to judge the show as it exists, not as it exists in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And so therefore, when I watched it, I had a relatively cautious, negative expectations, especially initially. And when Kaguri was introduced, I was like, so there's the Hastily plot to tie together everything here. Found it. And I like, oh, she has amnesia. Oh, God.
Yeah.
My actually prediction was that, like, based only on that very first scene in which Kaguri is, like, holding, as a child, is holding the pistol up and somehow manages to escape from Susa, I still don't understand how that functions. Like, Kaguri, we saw the scene with Kaguri saying, like, I hear God's voice, and taking the gun and pointing it at Suzuha, and that's where the scene ends. And we get told, Kaguri disappeared, I was split up from her, and now Suzuha is here. How did that happen? Did Kaguri just continue holding the gun and then slowly walk away and then run away until she found a telephone box to, like, call that professor? How did that happen? I still don't understand.
It was pretty weird. I don't think Steins Gate should really try its hand at action scenes in the future, and keep those on the minimum, except for the weird samurai scenes of Ruka in episode 20, but we'll get to that later.
That was awesome. That was awesome.
That was pretty cool. I have some comments on that, positive comments on that. But yeah, I think 19 was kind of like, I think 19 in a way, even though I'm kind of bashing it, because I do agree with you, I think 19 was kind of a mess, but it was also the ultimate, like, shit hits the fan episode that I think
exactly.
we kind of needed to get to that to kind of move past it in a way, because the other 2 episodes were still kind of like shit still hitting the fan, but not fully until 19 happened. And then, like, now I feel like we can move on and we can now see, like, how will the series wrap up? Like, what was the point? We're getting to the actual point in which it looks like Okabe is starting to motivate himself to send a message back in time to his past to warn him about, like, World War III, and to kind of motivate him with that message of, like, trick the world, which leads into episode 20, which I think was a significantly better and more eventful episode. Maz, I know you didn't really have too much to say, but did you want to add anything?
to what you guys were saying about 19 and all.
Yeah.
19 in a way, maybe not 19 specifically, but like, sorry if this point is kind of disconnected. I just thought overall, Steins Gate Zero, the way it's gone about its plot, it doesn't feel like a mess to me. Although I could understand why people would say that, but to me, it feels it's just more spread out. Like it has all these different things, and it'll like introduce something, but then not explain it for another few episodes, and it's not following a specific structure, unlike the original series, which is probably why people are saying it's a mess now, because they, kind of have it in their heads that they compare it to the original or something like that. Yeah. I think the plot has been like fine for the most part. It's progressed nicely. It hasn't done anything particularly difficult, I guess. It's just that it just isn't... It's not entirely focused on one thing specifically, it seems. It just kind of likes to jump around a lot. That's how I feel about that.
Yeah, I feel you on that.
I agree on that, Drew. I'm not sure whether to call it a good thing or a bad thing. Because it's just... Yeah, it's different, so... and the show is not done, so we can't really judge it fully yet. But I feel like that's... Zero's problem.
I feel like this is really difficult to judge week by week, and you need to see it kind of all at once to actually get the full picture.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I do think it's because, as much shit as the original series gets for the epic slow start, I think you could see a kind of, you could see a definite path in storytelling of, we're establishing the setting, characters, and atmosphere, and then we're going to ramp everything up in the second half. But we've had, many instances of that throughout this series. We'll have, a couple slice-of-life episodes, then people will get held up on gunpoint, we'll have more slice-of-life episodes, and then, it's kind of rotated in and out of that because it's a much more chaotic environment. And
yeah,
I think it could...
I remember thinking that, that Zero had this constant atmosphere of every episode it could go to shit. And then the episode is, and it does not go to shit. And maybe next episode then. That's what I found was a plus.
I think that could be a plus. I think it's just kind of tough, like when Maz says, with watching week to week, because I think you could kind of get, not tired, but you don't know where we'll go, which is a good thing, but sometimes you can just get exhausted because, you don't really know what to expect, and you could get, a somewhat boring filler episode, like that one with Daru and Yuki going on a date, or you could get everyone held up at gunpoint.
Hey, that was not boring. That was one of the best episodes of this entire series.
I will say, to admit something, I had to rewatch episode 19 before we did this podcast, because not that I forgot or anything, but I felt like I really needed a refresher, because we missed a week.
I watched it last week, and, I watched it yesterday, and I needed a refresher, TBH. But, so, I think 19 was whatever. I'm glad.
Let's get to the better episode, 20.
20, okay. So, I don't know about you guys, but I heard, my friend, Nazrim, you guys know Naz, he was he saw the episode before me, and he was yo, that episode was cooked. And I still don't really know what he meant, but then I started... I'm like, what do you mean cooked? And then I asked him how is it cooked? Expecting some it's well done or medium rare. No answer. So I guess he was just out for the episode. But then I went to go watch it, and the way it started, I really, really love. I felt like it was some Neon Genesis Evangelion Shinji mentality shit, where they were showing Okabe experiencing all the different timelines at once, and you got that really paranoid, creepy feeling of how he's been there before. They had the clock imagery of him being stuck between the what was it, the minute hand or the hour hand? But they started showing that, and just showing him really freaking the fuck out, and I really loved it because it was some really cool symbolic imagery to show just how mentally fucked he is. He's so discombobulated, he barely knows where he's existing, and I think it was a good lead-in to them kind of resetting his brain in a way, as they talked about in the rest of the episode.
I can't say that I agree, but then I don't disagree. I don't hate the beginning, but I don't love it. I'm kind of indifferent. It's like if you cut it out and just started with him waking up, I would be alright with that too. Let's just do it like that.
Yeah, I don't think it was necessary, but I like it as an additional, like, artistic flair to it, because I think it helped. I think it's cool to see the different ways that Okabe is suffering, and at least for me, I hate to say this, but I was getting kind of exhausted of constantly showing Okabe's torment through just him being, like, sad or panicking, so I like a bit more of the introspective look into his mind using creative imagery in a way that anime really lets you bring to life. Like, I think it was a cool change of pace. But you're not wrong. Like, you could have cut it completely and you could have just started the episode from there. But I think you kind of missed the sense of discombobulation that Okabe has really been tormented with.
I do. I really like that intro as well. I thought it was... I think the point of it is maybe that this was what was going on while he was sleeping, because I guess technically he's been in a coma for 25 years.
I think that's what I thought, but I think it was actually, so he got in, like, I think the year is, like, 2030s, like, 2035.
2036.
Yeah, 2036, and then he got kidnapped by one of the bad guy groups in,
2025?
2025, and then he was tortured for a bit, and then he was been in a coma for, like, 11 years. So,
yeah.
I mean, semantics, but, like, he was alive, and then they tortured him, then he was, like, essentially brain dead, and then they just loaded his memories from 2011 into his current body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so...
That was actually the one time where I was absolutely alright with Okabe not getting what is going around with him. Because, like, of course someone so malnourished and so tired and so in such a weak body would have trouble processing what is actually happening around, especially if it's such a unfamiliar environment. So I'm totally alright with him, like, being than usual.
Yeah, I think it's a good point because I was thinking about it because before they revealed that he was in a coma for 11 years instead of 20 years, I was thinking, you know, he looks really, what's the word for, I'm trying to think of, anemiated, or, yeah, so he's starving and, like, his body isn't working. Man, yeah, you know what I mean. But, like, his body is all messed up, and at first I was thinking, you know, if he was in a coma for 20 years, I don't think he could actually walk at all. And then if it's, like, 11 years, like, obviously he still has that, like, physical handicap of not using his muscles and being borderline starved to death. But it still made a bit more sense that he was able to, like, hobble around. But they paid, like, really good attention to detail just with his voice acting, like how hoarse he was after not speaking for 11 years, how he could barely walk. He could walk a short distance, but then he needed help from Suzuha or the wall later on. And it was a great, like, way to show just, like, how completely out of it he was, as you said.
Yeah, absolutely. There was something that I wanted to say right now and I just forgot it. God damn it, I hate it when that happens.
That's my secret power. I just ramble on until you forget your point.
Yeah. Did you just start a sentence and hope that you find the end along the way?
That's essentially what I do every time I talk.
Okay, let's topic. How did it continue? It continued with him meeting Suzuha, who for some reason was not let in on the secret that he was still alive, which it's a bit funny when you think about it. Like, she like 3 times, like, she's like, whoa, but you told everyone else, but you didn't tell me that.
I was thinking of that, because I'm like, you know, I understand her being annoyed that Daru, like, didn't tell her. Like, I imagine, like, asking that once, and then maybe asking that later to, like, nudge him again. But it felt very wimpy, as, like, Daddy, why didn't you tell me? Wah. Like, she's supposed to be this hardened, badass World War III survivor, and she's kind of, like, not grasping the information, but complaining about her dad not telling her. Really, like, it's a really nitpicky thing, but I was like, come on, we get it. Like, he didn't tell you, move on. Like, we have important shit to do.
Then again, I really loved seeing the future versions of, like, everyone. At least everyone who survived.
Yeah, I think it was cool to see. I think it was really cool to see.
Like Daru, who's finally not fat anymore and sounds like a normal person. Ferris as like a soldier. Ruka as a fucking amazing swordsman.
Ruka is a samurai. Like, just
Yeah.
to clarify.
That
like,
shit had me dying. That was fucking cool.
She was,
Yeah.
well, he, I think he's still a he in this, timeline.
Yes.
He's a samurai. Like, he's a legitimate, like, he one-shot, he's like, I'm gonna go take this, guerrilla army down with my samurai sword.
And he succeeded. Well,
And he
except that he
succeeded.
died.
In a
But,
true samurai fashion. He took one for the team like a samurai would. But yeah, I just love how, like, you know, they show the future, and I get it, but this is just something I found funny, was you got the great attention to detail and Okabe being so emaciated, I think that's it. Yeah. He's being so, like, fucked up that he can't even walk. But then we have Ferris still ending every sentence with meow at the end.
Yes, that was amazing.
Like, we're getting shot at meow, like, every time. And it's, like, this super serious situation. And, like,
Old habits
I'm not...
die hard.
She's like, yeah, and I kind of get it, because I could imagine that, like, you know, as the future changes, you don't want to change things you do with, like, you don't want to take away the one happiness you had in the past, you know, like, you want to hang on to every sense of normalcy. But I was just dying at, you have Samurai Ruka and Ferris Nyan Nyan over there still saying meow after every line. Like, I could not get over that. But,
the thing about this whole episode is that I see it as a fan service episode. Maybe not fan service as in, like, beach episode, kind of what most people would think of, but I just think the episode really didn't have a ton to really add to the story. It was mostly just Okabe learning how to deceive the world, which will come into play much later. But other than that, I just think it was cool to see everyone in the future setting. And even though it is dumb that Ferris is still wearing cat ears and shit, I loved that, and I just think that the point of the episode was never really to make sense or anything. Because it
more like the entire series point.
oh.
Well, I just mean, the episode was, it felt optimistic in a way, I guess. Where, like, even when Maho says that, you know, oh, we're all so cold and we don't really, no one's really saying anything about Ruka just now dying, but even then it doesn't feel like they're all that serious. It's not really all that depressing, or at least it doesn't feel that way to me. You know, everyone's just kind of serious. It's you know, everyone's a little bit more mature, but other than that, everyone's still talking to each other casually. You know, Daru and Suzuha are still talking to each other like normal. They're not, like, Suzuha's not getting, like, super pissed off, like, Daddy, why didn't you tell me? I feel so hurt and betrayed because I have no one else in this world. And you know, they're all talking to Okabe, not really, like, casually, but it's not like a super grim picture that they're painting him or anything.
It feels like really they're still themselves. Even though they're older, they're still, like, you can still see who they once were, and they didn't change too much. Like, obviously you have a much more healthier Daru, but then again, what happens when you live together with a woman? You change.
You starve? Like, is that the end? Like, that whole poverty diet is really working out for him.
Oh, yeah.
So
Oh God,
I
I
think
can't get that picture out of my head.
I think if anything, I will give props to Daru being the MVP of being, like, the responsible adult, and he plants the idea of tricking the world in Okabe's head, which we know will be the key to Steins Gate and will save the universe. But it was cool to see. I do agree with you, Maz. Like, this whole thing is kind of like a fan service episode because it's a major what if episode. Like, it's not, it's all something that could happen but won't under the Steins Gate timeline. But it's cool to see.
Right, we're done with this timeline. We're not going back.
Yeah, like, we're probably going to be done with this, and we're going to go back. I do have to say, I was, you know, when I finished 19, I was sitting there, and I was kind of sad, because I remember this part in the visual novel, and I thought it was really cool, you know, seeing the future, seeing the consequences of the actions or the lack of actions of Okabe in the present, and the future that Suzuha had always talked about that had really traumatized her, and that she was so desperately trying to prevent. and then we got to actually see it and live it while watching Ruka die. So I think it was really cool that they actually got to show this, and I'm really glad they got to cover this part since I was afraid they cut it. So that was a win for me. Yeah, I think it's pretty cool to see, but it was kind of, I think, even though episode 20 was a lot more significant than episode 19, there's not, like, too much beyond that. Like, it was cool to see a samurai in the future in the form of Ruka.
Absolutely. I pity a bit that Yuki had to die as part of the background story, like saving Suzuha from that drone thingy.
Which I found sad
because Yuki is like a character that I feel is really underdeveloped. Now, I'm not sure whether that's just the anime, if she gets all the screen time in the visual novel, I don't know. But just based on the Steins Gate Zero anime, I feel like she could have been more than just Suzuha's mother, especially when you consider the red herring of her being an American rounder, which I at first was like, no, you don't ruin Yuki to me now. She's Yukari Tamura, she's automatically my favorite character. But then I thought about it and thought, yes, actually, that could work very well. Like, she works as an American rounder, as a sleeper. Maybe even her assignment, her coming to this assignment that she meets Daru for the first time. But then she genuinely falls in love with him and ultimately defects from the American rounders to the main characters, providing whatever special knowledge she has to help them. And the power of love is victorious. And I thought, hey, that would have been really cool to see. Just
it would be a cool spy
to see, also to see how Suzuha got to be such a badass. It's because her mother trained her. But none of.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah, that would have been pretty cool too.
Yeah,
that Suzuha's mom was the one that trained her.
Yeah, but like, we've basically got no hints except those 2 injuries she had. Can't coincidentally, when a person in a helmet, with a motorcycle helmet, was injured in similar places. So maybe they're the same person. Nudge, nudge, hink, hink. Wink, wink, hint, hint. I meant to say. But yeah. But apparently that person is Judy. Has always been Judy. Who is Judy? Well, she has been that person and nothing else. Background story? Not for you, Judy. You're dead already.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because I think the Steins Gate Zero visual novel at least was cool because you got to see them flesh out other characters in a way, and I think they've kind of done that a little bit in Steins Gate Zero. They definitely have fleshed out Mayuri a lot. I think Mayuri has gotten the best treatment out of the cast, which is cool to see because she is one of the most important characters in the series and the light of Maz's life. But
she deserves the
as
screen
one
time.
might say. Yeah, and I really like what they've done with Mayuri. But but then there are other characters where they definitely could have done more, like someone like Yuki, who's been made like she is a plot point in Steins Gate Zero, and it would have been cool to see more of her, or at least more of, like, the influence she had on Suzuha, besides being, like, nice to her for an episode. Like, that was cool, but we could have seen a lot more. I don't know, they didn't actually have that much more on her in the visual novel, so it's not like you're missing something in translation, it was just something that wasn't thought of to begin with. But if you want to make this cool, spin-off where she's, like, an espionage spy who changes her ways for Daru, I will be all down, and I encourage you to make that. And then we can write up White Fox and have them adapt it into another season. That's what
another
we will
season
do.
in 2022 or 2023, yeah?
We will
By the
not
time
stop.
where the bad future already happened, seasons still come out. It originally came out at the time the present took place. Now it's coming out at the time the future is taking place.
So we can be like Hiroaka with just coming out with new content all the time, only it's all written by Ty Boss.
That's a very a big honor. Thank you. I can't wait to be trash talked by Reddit comments.
You can't wait to be trash talked on the Our Anime podcast when your anime comes out.
That's when you make an anime, suddenly everyone is a critic.
Yeah. I hate when that
especially
happens.
these people on this podcast. That is terrible. Well, yeah. Now, where was I?
The absolute worst. But yeah, I guess so what do you guys think will happen now? What could possibly happen moving forward?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Good call. Very safe bet, but not wrong.
In generally, my predictions with Zero never came true, because when Kaori was first introduced, my short-term memory is so bad, I don't remember if I even mentioned this in the podcast, I don't think so, that she was like a willing member of the team, not like brainwashed, but like she has amnesia coincidentally, but she's actually consensually, willingly part of them, because like Kagari wants to preserve the timeline, to preserve Mayuri, Mama, or what, and Susa wants to change it, to change the future, and that would be the main conflict of this show. Like, Kagari would end up as the main antagonist in a sort of way. That obviously did not happen. And Civil War 2, the Marvel Comics crossover, did that already, so probably better that it didn't happen that way. But else, I don't really know what's going to happen. There's so many things that are still kind of unresolved. For example, Suzuha got a D-mail, remember? Like, from Daru, from a different timeline, right before the soldiers attacked. What happened to that? What is the point of that? I hope that we get to that in a way.
What did she do?
What?
What did Suzuha get? Sorry, I missed that.
A D-mail or whatever the future equivalent of a D-mail is.
Oh, yeah, I remember
Daru.
that. Yeah, she got a D-mail from him.
And that was shortly before the soldiers arrived, so they took all the focus away from that. And now it's just left hanging. What is that? Then there's still the thing that Sayori, I wanted to say, but no, that's a different character altogether. Mayuri and Susa in the time machine, are they dead? Like, if they exploded? Probably yes. But if they're not, what happens to them? Like, if he goes back in time and prevents it in some way, do they succeed in some way? Or when Nitra travels in back in time, will that just not happen anymore? Or I can't say. It's just so there's so many kind of open plot points where I can see them just saying, nope, that's everything, but also where I want to know, like, can you continue that? Maybe? Like, for example, with the friend, I think Fubi, her name was, falling unconscious in episode 8 or so, where you're like, oh, so maybe she's deeper involved in this. Maybe they're all 3 secret agents. Who knows? Blah, blah, blah. Obviously nothing came out of that, and she's apparently just Mayuri's cosplaying friend who just happened to fall unconscious. And yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, because I think it was implied that she had the same reading Steiner that Okabe had, but it wasn't really explored too much in this. Maybe they will in the next episodes. I can't see them doing that, but that was like a plot point that was supposed to be about how like other people have the same reading Steiner that Okabe has, but not as severely, but like people are still suffering from it, so they're studying their brains and stuff. I don't know if they're gonna do that still. I can't see them going back and covering that, because honestly, I could see them just like where they're currently at. I could see them just ending it based on the next episode, but we still have 3 more episodes, and I don't really know what they'll cover. Do you have any bold predictions, Maz?
Not really. I'll admit I haven't really thought about this too much, so I apologize that I'm not contributing to the discussion here.
You're fine.
I'm,
Mayuri is gone, and so are you, but not really.
Exactly, dude.
Don't worry, I'm here.
I completely forgot. I wanted to make like some joke about me being from the future and not having emotions because Mayuri's dead or whatever. Sorry, I ruined the episode. Anyway.
She's not permanently dead.
Anyway.
Nobody in this show is permanently dead. Ruka, we just saw him die in a very heroic, very sad death. But Okabe is just going to find a way to travel back in time or to reset that. And suddenly we're back in the present and Ruka is alive and the future will change in a way that he does not die.
How do we deal with not having Samurai Ruka? Like, I don't know how I.
Maybe we'll get Samurai Ruka in a way in the Steins Gate timeline, but for that we'd need a sequel set in that timeline, and we still don't have one.
Yeah.
Sad.
Feels bad.
Steins Gate 02. Anyway, the only thing I'm just kind of concerned about how many episodes we have left, but it also, I'm not sure if we have so much that it's like they'll really have to blow through it in the next 3 episodes. It's just tough. I'm just not entirely sure where to start.
Yeah, I don't know either. I wish I had answers, but then if I did, I might spoil them by accident, so I'm glad I do not. But yeah, I don't know what we're gonna do. I hope we see Mayuri and Kurisu again. I can think of like 2 or 3 scenes I really want to see them include in the remaining episodes. Who knows if I'll get to see it? Who knows what'll happen? I don't know. It's been an interesting ride. It's just been an entire fan service season. But I like putting it that way. Even though I do think there were some cool episodes and additions to the Steins Gate universe. So, I mean, that's all I really have. Did you guys have anything else you wanted to add?
The last thing I forgot to mention about the opening is that they use the number 65536, which I don't understand, but I know it's important.
It's a 16-bit maximum numbers of combinations.
Okay.
Like with 16-bit, you can let me just wrap it up like real quick. Like with bits, you have 0 and 1. So with 16-bit, you have 2 to the power of 16, which is 65,000 something. And with 33 bits, you have 2 to the power of 32, which is 4 billion and a bit, I think. Yeah.
Anyway, I just thought that was cool that was the number that they showed in the intro where he said this is a 65,000th meeting or whatever. Because I saw that, I'm like, oh,
65,436.
Yeah, we're gonna get you with that endless 8 shit. Only the 65,008.
Isn't endless 8 like 15,000?
Yeah.
It's
so
still
some weak shit
long
to this,
time.
But no,
like
this is.
Yeah.
It's still suffering, but it was cool because I think it was kind of cool because I realized in a weird way, like, we get the impression from the original series that Okabe is suffering because he's repeated the timelines so many different times, but we never got that kind of, like, tangible number of just how much he's suffered, and you really got that in that opening scene of, like, this is the 6,500, like, I forget the number already, but, like, 65,000 meeting we've had, and you could just be like, yeah, this is a lot of meetings, and this is a lot of suffering, I want out.
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
I also never really get that feeling, especially when I watched the original timeline. Now, I felt a lot of go on a bit of a tangent. I watched 2 other shows involving time loops shortly before I watched Steins Gate. And my expectation on Steins Gate, the original, were relatively high because it was like addressed to me as that time travel anime. Like, the time travel is the big focus. It's not like Haru or so, where it's like one of the parts. No, it's like the big thing. And
a few moments later.
Okay, this is leading up to something. I just don't know yet what it is. Like, John Titor exists. John Titor doesn't exist. The IBN is gone. No, it's actually here. Oh, it's here, but it's broken. No, it's here, but it's gone. It's working. Kurisu is dead. No, she's not dead. Oh, she's
2 hours later.
It's probably my no, it's actually not my favorite part. My favorite part is the ending with the tricking out time.
That is a good part.
Yeah. And I enjoyed it to an extent. I did not feel bored or anything. But I was constantly wondering, it's building up to something great. And then, like,
1 eternity later.
I don't know if I appreciate or not. And,
well, I like this show.
Yeah.
I think it's show.
Like, I do not hate either series. Like, and I accept. I'm glad in a way that this is the show that like everyone loves to death, 10 out of 10 Amazeballs, and not something which I think is terrible. So
I'm glad.
Kudos to that. Kudos to that.
Good job, Maz. We did it. He doesn't hate it.
You did
What?
it. You earned my gladness.
Well, I am glad. I'm glad for that.
You
So
obviously care a lot
Yeah.
about my opinion, but so do you. You also care about everyone's opinion, except if they're like mods can go fuck themselves, because then you're like, you can go fuck themselves. No, we drifted off. Where we were, Steins Gate, right?
I don't know where we were or where we started, but I think that was it.
That was
Good
it.
show.
No,
Good
I just wanted to continue. I don't want to have to wait another 5 months until I'm on a podcast again.
No, but we'll have to have you on again in the future because you had some interesting takes and an interesting ramble at the end that I admittedly got like half of, but then kind of got lost in the middle, kind of like Steins Gate Zero.
Do JoJo part 5.
It probably would have been
because-
better if you guys didn't laugh at all compared to the sarcastic laugh, but I will take it. This is Steins Gate Zero. I guess I'm Shaw signing off for this week's episode, and thank you for joining us, Ty Boss. Thank you for continuing to suffer, Maz, and we will see you next time.
Yes, you will.
Where's
Not
my
me.
Yuri?